Hello, good morning. Welcome on the news review belt of the AM show. And joining us for that conversation, we have energy analyst Kojo Poku. I'll be letting him in on the conversation shortly. But as I always say, especially ahead of Father's Day, you know what to do. Take care of yourself. Yeah? Take care of yourself. You're the only temple that God has, at least as far as you are concerned. So take care of this temple. It is the only body you'll have in the course of your life. And that's why I'd like to introduce you to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Okay, they are offering, if you're a man, fertility. Okay, so if you're a man, prostate screening for free. Today I was going the way of the women. If you're a man, prostate screening for free, gratis. If you're a woman, fertility screening. Do you know your status in terms of fertility? Do you know whether you have any fibroids or anything growing in there that could impede your fertility? Do you know whether have you taken stock of your menstrual flow and all of that? And if you're missing them, are you taking them for granted? All of these are crucial, which is why you shouldn't take them for granted and cry later when you could have prevented them now. So here's where you can locate Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. They are in Kumasi, Kronum Abuehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex. If you want to go to Takrady or you find yourself there, as Kojo Brace, my colleague, was, they are in Anaje Estate, Tema Community 22. There's also Techiman Hanswa and Esiama in Zima. Now, to reach them via phone, these are the numbers to call: 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, bringing us to the start of the news review. Mr. Poku, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very well. I think that we should do it properly. Kojo and Safwa Poku. You hold the keys, right?
Yes, in Safwa.
Aha. I should start calling you MK, Mr. Keys. All right, so tell me, just to kickstart the conversation, I would like to find out a few things from you. For example, Agenda 111. Professor Benka, he's a renowned, health professional, says it's not realistic, it's not feasible to procure 111 hospital facilities. We're going to end up abandoning a lot of them. We're going to end up with a lot of these projects not delivering value for money. And so we should prioritize rather than go full Monty, full scale, 111. That conversation is there. Yesterday when I had Paul Grabe-Wachadankwa, government's spokesperson on governance and security here, he felt, no, that is not the way to go. But we've seen it too many times, haven't we? There are so many developments on the economic front as well. Inflation is ticking up again, and I have my heart in my belly, so to speak. It's in my mouth and in my belly, I should say, because we're already feeling the pinch on so many fronts. The CD's stabilization hasn't taken place on the back of the IMF program. And food items and all of that, food items actually led to the spike. Things are pretty expensive. So for inflation to be going up again, that's a bit of a worry. I'm still forking out quite a lot of money to purchase fuel, just to pay for utilities. Utility tariffs are up. Talk about all of these issues. What are your thoughts on them? And when you're done, you can also share with us what you've been up to on the campaign trail, or you could start with that. What you've been up to on the campaign trail in your bid to be flag bearer of the MPP before we get into the newspapers.
Well, good morning, Ben. As you can see, I don't have the lovely yellow background that I normally have when I talk to you.
So you're out and about, I can guess.
I'm in Kumasi. I have a few rounds in Ashanti region that I need to conclude. So I'll be here till Sunday. So it's going very well. I plan to submit my forms on Tuesday. That can still change. We've done with all the endorsement. A good big thank you to all the KMP reps and supporters around the country who came in their numbers to to endorse the form that was sent to them. It's a good thing that we've done the 16 regions in record time. After I leave Kumasi on Sunday, then I'll decide when I submit the form. But it's been going very well. To your question of the economic front and Agenda 111, Ben, you can play multiple interviews between me and you where I have stated categorically that the Agenda 111 for me should be shelved because you cannot build 101 hospitals when the existing ones are ill-equipped. Some hospitals don't have water. Some hospitals don't have generators. Some hospitals don't even have incubators. Some hospitals don't have E&T. Some hospitals don't have children's ward. Some hospitals don't have well-equipped theaters. Look, the list goes on and on and on. And unless you are able to fully equip and solve the existing problems in health, you cannot move on to building 101 hospitals because what you're doing is that you're going to replicate the existing problems in 101 hospitals. I have always said that in the past, we had three issues when it comes to health: affordability, accessibility, and quality of service. So healthcare has to be accessible, healthcare has to be affordable, and healthcare has to be what? You need to have a quality of service. President J. Kufuor did the affordability, and then he did the national health insurance to bring about affordability. Now, what Nanado is trying to do is the accessibility. But for me, you need to now have the quality of service because there's no point having beautiful edifices that are death traps. I've said this on your show before. In Kumasi, the weekend when my mom was unwell, I called a friend of mine and said, look, my mom is not well. He said, look, I want to advise you to take her to Kompanochi on weekend because there will be no senior person there. You only find junior doctors. And I don't think any senior doctor will come in until Monday. Why? So we need to fix the existing problem. And one of the solutions that I have proposed is that government can no longer run healthcare because it's too expensive. And we do not have the money to do it. So we should go the UK route and have trust. So each region will have a trust, and the trust will be all the hospitals in the region will belong to the trust, and private sector investment can now buy into the trust and run the hospital for profit. Hospitals are not social activities. Hospital is supposed to be a profit venture. All private hospitals make profit. I don't see why government hospitals should run at a loss and be degraded the way they are. So, look, government can no longer run healthcare. We've gone to the point there where we think that, look, we need private sector investment through trust. And all this expansion of hospitals should be made by the private sector, not the government using our scarce resources. You are right to say that, look, we are not out of the woods yet because inflation has gone up again. The stabilization of the currency is not so well. From what COPEC is saying, fuel might go up a little slightly in the coming window. I have said, and again and again and again, that IMF is just the Imodium for our diarrhea. I have not heard any antibiotics prescribed by the government. What will take us to recovery? I have not heard that from government. And it's unfortunate when somebody now travels and go and say that the economy is back. Back where? You went to IMF about a month ago, and all of a sudden you are doing conferences in the UK telling investors that your economy is back. I was very surprised when we had over 100 CEOs travel to the UK to go and tell investors what? They know more about your economy than you do. So what are you going to tell them that they don't know? And we went and spent money causing financial loss to the state to go and do a conference in the UK to tell investment that the economy is back. I'm sorry, the economy is not back. We cannot run this economy through propaganda. And that is where, for me, I depart with all politics.
All right. Thank you for sharing those initial thoughts. Let's get into the papers now and find out what they have to share with us. The Daily Guide this morning. Pay or take PPAs cruel. That's according to the majority. Yesterday on the floor of Parliament, there was a lot of talk about this, but the NDC, the minority, has come out to debunk some of those claims. Kojo, we had that conversation only a few days ago, and the reflections from different people on the energy train saying, look, What would you have done? What would have been the alternative? It was the way to go. You said it was the way to go. Maybe the cost issues. But I'll leave you to determine what your take is, whether it has shifted, whether you support the majority in Parliament. The interesting thing, though, like you heard that day on the conversation, the IPPs require $450 million to stay afloat. We owe them about $1.5 billion. We will need other IPPs on board because our energy generation has gone up. Our energy requirements or needs have gone up, and we'll need to meet that need. And Dumso is a viable threat, like we discussed. I'm just rehashing what we said the other day. This one, D-Day for Aisha Huang. And there's also 3 children burned to death. This country of ours. On the back page, Stars morale very good. And Ghana coach Chris Hughton has praised the side for demonstrating high spirits in the camp. The coach has since early this week supervised the team's preparations in Accra for the upcoming game against Madagascar in their 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. There are some who have said that, look, since 1982, I don't know how many people even remember or were alive when we won our last trophy. And till today, we've come close. We've gone to finals, semi-finals, quarterfinals. We've never made it. What is happening? Is Chris Hughton the man to get us back? Real grabbed Bellingham for £88.5 million. And Real Madrid has completed the signing of England midfielder Jude Bellingham from Borussia Dortmund on a 6-year deal. And they did boost for All-Star Festival. Today I'm starting with sports. But then we get into the main stories. D-Day for Aisha Huang. And Accra High Court will today decide whether the prosecution has proven its case against Galamsey Queen and Huang, popularly known as Aisha Huang, to warrant her opening her defense in the trial in which she is facing illegal mining charges. Now, Aisha Huang, who has already been convicted for illegally re-entering Ghana following her deportation in 2018, would be ordered by the court to open her defense if the court presided over by Justice Lydia Osei-Marfo finds that the prosecution has made a prima facie case against her. Her conviction for the immigration offense followed the decision by the accused to change her initial not guilty plea to guilty as part of a plea bargaining agreement with the Office of the Attorney General. Let me just add that pay or take story and allow you to go ahead. So members of the Majority Caucus on the Mines and Energy Committee described the National Democratic Congress government's power purchase agreement signed in the run-up to the 2016 elections as unconscionable and cruel. According to them, poor leadership and lack of foresight by the previous administration contributed to the signing of overcapacity electrical generation, weakened sector planning, and mounting debt, putting immense financial strain on the country. There's a quote here. We couldn't see that we were going to have a situation like that. Were we sleeping on the job? But you know what's interesting? All of these agreements were approved by consensus by the majority, the minority side then, which is the majority side now. They approved all of them by consensus. So if they ask whether they were sleeping on the job, I would also like to throw it to the majority now. Were you sleeping on the job too? You accepted them.
Yeah, very much so. You're right.
Were you sleeping on if they were sleeping on the job, were you sleeping on the job too? Go ahead, Kojo.
Right. So, Ben, well, you're right to ask that question. And I have always said that, look, when it comes to the energy sector, the parliamentarians don't help us that much. The committee meetings, I had a privilege to go to the only one, and I keep talking about that one, which I went to, which was chaired by Dr. Sesibe, then who's the chairperson of both the Joint Finance and Energy. And I wasn't impressed with the way the committee went. And mostly, when you see committee reports that is sent to the plenary, it is mostly the memo that is sent from the ministry to the committee. It's a cut and paste. So a committee report is supposed to be the deliberation that happened at the committee. But if you have time, take most of the committee reports that go to the plenary. It's a cut and paste of the committee, the memo that was brought to them. They cut and paste that and basically add comments at the end and send it to the plenary. It doesn't reflect the committee's deliberation. What the opposition
Kojo, I am losing your sound just for a few seconds. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's from your end or my end, but I can't hear you so well. Let's try this again. Please go back a bit and
Right.
start again.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so what I was saying is that so the committee reports that go from the committees to the plenary is normally a cut and paste of the memo that is sent to them from the ministry. Now, you are right to say that were they sleeping on the job? Look, my question to them was that what would they have done differently? If they say that in 2012 they were in opposition, and sorry, they were in the majority, and they were confronted with the situation we had in 2012 to 2014, what would they have done differently? Today, they are in majority, and we say that the government policy is that we don't do take or pay, it's take and pay, right? That's not true, because there is AXA. What they have recently given them a PPA, and there is a 40% take or pay in that AXA PPA. So what do they say about that? So if you see, we look, and I blame the journalists in Parliament. They should be able to research and ask them these questions. Because look, I Kojopoku, if I was in front of them, will ask them that, okay, what would you have done differently at that time? Tell us what you do differently. Because what the take or pay is that a lot of people don't seem to understand. It's a guarantee. I am coming to invest in your country. I'm going to spend $400 million to put up a power plant. I need a guarantee that when I put up plants, if you don't use it, at least you will pay me my capacity charges, which is the investment that I have made. I will get some of it back. Now, those companies that today have the take or pay in their contracts are owed 1.5 billion. So imagine that those, if you're able to put a plant and you do not have any guarantee, which bank will give you money to invest? And no company has their own money to put up $300, $400 million. You need to go for financing. And the first thing the financier will ask you is that, where is the guarantee that if I give you 300 million and you put a plant in, at least every month you'll be giving something to repay your indebtedness? Without that, nobody will finance your plant. And that is why today, the AXA plant, though it is here, we still gave them 40% take or pay. So please, look, let's stop this politics with the take or pay is cruel. For me, like I said to you the last time, under the circumstances of what we find ourselves at that time, we could not have built any power plant without the take or pay. Where the NDC got it wrong is the amount of PPAs that they signed. Look, as at 2016, the NDC have signed over 10,000 megawatts, which was too much. So I agree with the sleeping on the job part for the too many PPAs that they signed for over 10,000 megawatts of power. But I don't agree that they were sleeping on the job when both of them agreed that there's a need to put in a put call option, which is the take or pay guarantee for investors to come in. Today, we are still giving guarantees for investors to come in. Without that, no investor will come in. So please, let's put that one to the side. The issue of the D-Day for Aisha Huang. And look, I think that sometimes lawyers some lawyers think that the court is theater. Okay, they go there to play a game and play an act. Aisha Huang, how can he not open his case? And then you submit a case whereby you think that you do not have to open the defense. The lady is in the country illegally for nothing at all. She's here. Somebody that supposedly was deported found her way back in the country, went to one of our centers to procure an ID card fraudulently. That alone is a conviction. I don't know where she will now go and say not guilty. Not guilty to what? So look, again, we take too much time to waste the court's time to basically prolong some of these things. I have always said that criminal cases should not take more than 2 years. Aisha Huang's case shouldn't have taken 3 months for either deport her, jail her, or whatever. It's taking too long, right? So the court, we have a new CJ now. My plea to the lady, her lordship, Tokunu, is that Please, we need a fast track. President Kufuor bring a fast track court. Today, the fast track court has become a slow court. Cases are taking too long. Judges are not sitting. Judges have traveled. The judge is going to Takrady. The judge will not sit today. Lawyers getting a date because they are not too well. There is too much theater going on in the court. We need a look. Justice denied. Justice delayed is justice denied, and that's where I end with that one. You want us to talk about the Black Star. If Chris Hughton will do well in Black Star, the GFA has to back off. If GFA back off and leave him to run the Black Star, we will do very well. I don't know whether it's true or it's just hearsay, but there are stories where people are paid to appear in the Black Star. If it's true, that should stop. Because you've heard the story of Mbappe, where supposedly Mbappe's father was on the news or social media saying that Mbappe wants to play for Cameroon, and they demanded some money, so Mbappe now played for France.
Yeah,
I don't know how far that.
I've heard that story. I've heard that story.
So that goes to tell you, look, most parents who left Ghana in Germany, in Holland, in Europe, there are a lot of talent in Europe for Ghanaians because most of the parents in Europe got their kids to play football, and there are some good talent. But the parents do not want to go through the politics of GFA. You have to pay, you have to do this. And people now do this showcasing of players so that they could sell them into other teams and stuff like that. All that has to stop. If Chris Hughton is to deliver as a cap. Until that, I don't know when we'll win another Black Star trophy.
Alrighty, let's get into some other stories. There's this thought here on page 4. Don't abolish hard copy textbooks. That's publishers. You know about the talk recently about laptops with textbooks on them. Sometimes
that is propaganda. That can never happen. Please, let's stop that conversation. How can it?
Oh, it is propaganda.
Of course, even in the most advanced nation in the world, the United States of America, Sweden, Norway, and all those countries, they still use textbooks. How are you going to do in a country like Ghana, where most places don't have lights? How are you going to do only textbooks on laptops?
But they gave laptops to teachers. Willy-nilly, whether you like it or not. There were agreements and they gave them to them. So what makes you think they can't do it here? And they'll tell you it's all in the digital drive, to ensure that everything goes digital.
I think that story needs to be corrected. I think when I heard from government is that it was not just to give laptops. Laptops will be given with textbooks. I can't phantom anybody coming out to say that government is only going to give children laptops. It's not possible. Okay, so I think that it was a miscommunication or propaganda by some people. There's no way education system can just run on laptops. So what I heard from the government was that government was going to give laptop plus textbooks, not just laptops. That's why I said it's propaganda.
Okay, all right. But the vice president himself, if you're quoting what he said, I don't know whether you'd still call it propaganda, unless he was misconstrued. But anyway,
well, in most times, you realize that the things that the vice president says, you have people that will come and tell you what he really meant. And we've had that with Gold for Oil. We've had that with quite a number of things. A lot of time, the things he say, people will come and clarify it. So I'm clarifying it for you.
Okay, all right.
Is that the laptops will come with textbooks. It's not possible just to give laptops.
All right. So let's get into some other stories. Let's go on the international front. I'll do entertainment and others. Dozens killed as migrant boat capsizes off Greece. That's a very sad situation. Man faked own death and turned up at funeral in a helicopter. Now, a Belgian TikToker faked his own death to find out who cared and then turned up to his own funeral. David Burton, 45, and his wife and children decided to prank friends and family members to find out what they really thought about him.
That would be a good surprise. I think I would.
Good surprise.
No, but you will come back and realize that nobody showed up. So then what?
Anyway, drugs ring smuggled.
You are really pranking. You are pranking yourself in that instance.
I mean,
I don't think that's a good joke.
It's madness. Drugs ring smuggled cocaine and surfboards. That's in Uruguay. But let me just come to, of course, there's also talk about Italy's ex-premier, Silvio Berlusconi. He managed to bounce back from some pretty damning allegations and...
My hero.
Oh, he is, huh?
Yes, I have two heroes in this world: Silvio Berlusconi and Rupert Murdoch. And if you know,
now that is interesting because these are two very controversial people who also were mired in criminal activity. So how come they are mentors?
Criminal activities, as you would say, or the other person on the other side would say.
Criminal activity. Rupert Murdoch, for example,
they've never been found guilty. So look. Let me say this. Let me say this. Big Rupert, which is Rupert Murdoch, is my hero because of his empire that he has, the business magnate that he is, and how he's raised the family, how he's basically gotten to the point where he owns media. And I have always had the desire to own media, just that I have not basically been able to get in there. And you know that Rupert and Berlusconi, Silvio, has a similar in terms of owning media, because in Italy, Silvio Berlusconi also owns a certain media. Then Silvio has a very wide array of businesses, including football, where he owns AC Milan and all the other teams that comes along with it. So look, and he went on to be president, prime minister of the Italy. So that is why the two of them are my heroes, because I really have admired them since childhood. If you ask me to name two people I look up to, I'll name Rupert Murdoch and Silvio Berlusconi.
All right.
Minus all the bad things.
Minus all the bad things. There you go. Let's quickly wrap with the Daily Guide and get into a few more stories. Not too many from the other papers, but a few more stories, and then we shall call it a wrap. 3 children burnt to death. I was actually trying to avoid that story. It's an unpalatable one. But on the entertainment front, Grammy introduces Best African Music category, which I feel is awesome. I was forced to crown Kwame Eugene King of High Life, Amachidede. I read this yesterday and I found it rather curious. There were forces that compelled him to crown him, and of course things have not necessarily panned out that way. Avoid excessive reliance on taxes to grow, and that is the Institute for Fiscal Studies. But that horrific story. 3 school pupils have been burnt beyond recognition, oh my word, by an inferno while they were returning from school on Tuesday afternoon. The heartbreaking incident happened when a commercial bus in which the children aged between 5 and 7 years were traveling suddenly caught fire on the road. Sadly, people who live around the Adrenase to Humayun Road in the Amansie Central District of the Ashanti region, where the incident happened, could not intervene. Maintenance issues, our buses and all of that. Who does maintenance? I remember once I had a horrifying incident getting into a Trotsky many years ago. I was from work at the time. I forget whether it was I think it was my left big toe. You see when you're entering a Trotsky, that portion where you step on sometimes before you finally... there was something sharp there. No idea. I stepped on it and my big toe went in there, and in a flash it came out. Kojo, so this is the big toe, right? It didn't cut this way. It cut in and out. Toenail, flesh, come and see blood. I'm sorry if I'm ruining your morning, but no maintenance of any kind.
You could have been entitled to the third-party insurance that bus carries.
Senior, you should have seen that trotro.
Oh no, it's not. He will have at least had a third party.
I get your point, though.
Every trotro at least has a third party. So that incident qualified for third-party insurance, and you would have been compensated.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
But you see, the point you are making, and I think is very relevant, is that the state of our transport is appalling. We've put human face to this thing that, people have to eat. When you ban these buses, what will happen? Look, we are mortgaging human lives to certain people's indiscipline. I think if you're a transport owner and you ought to own a bus and you want to be in business, you should do the right thing. I personally want to revamp the public transport system. Everybody has played politics with it, but I think that there are a few things that I have in my books that I want to do. One, create a zonal area around the capitals where certain buses are not allowed past those areas, and then have a proper public transport system like what you have in the UK and in Europe running in the inner parts of the capitals and the capital cities of the country, so that you don't automatically ban those urbans and the old ones. They can run in the outskirts of the town to basically bring the people to a certain point. And then these proper public transport, state of the art, brings commute around the cities. And then gradually phase it out and extend the calling and then phase out these buses. I think is the way to go. There's no negotiation on that because we can no longer have buses killing human beings. My heart goes out to the family. The police on the road is amazing. They will stand there, and all these buses will go past them. And you're asking, what are they doing?
And when there's anything, a lot of them will just take some local fuel. I know that for a fact because I've been seeing it. Anyway, just to wrap up the conversation, just give me like 30 seconds of your thoughts. Supreme newspaper, the lights shall continue to stay on. Napo reassures Ghanaians. And then the Daily Statesman, green minerals won't be exported raw. Lands Minister assures value addition. Very, very brief, Kojo. Just go to it. What is your
when I hear them talk about lithium, when I hear talk about all these new minerals we are supposed to find, it reminds me of 2009, 2008, 2010. When we found oil in 2007, all the rhetoric that the government came up between 2008, 9, and 10 is the same rhetoric we are hearing today coming from the government when we have now found new minerals. Look, we are going to go the same way that we have done because, look, people are greedy. Okay? We don't think about the country Ghana. We think about our individual stomachs. So it doesn't matter what anybody tells me. Look, I have not seen any document that tells me that the lithium and all the new minerals are going to go any differently to what we did when we found oil.
Okay, we have to go.
Now, let me finish off with Napo saying that the lights are going to stay on. Let me assure my brother that, yes, the lights are on, but he shouldn't be too sure that they will stay on. He should sit down and solve the problem which is pending. And he knows the problem so well.
Kojo Foku and Safwa, the man who holds the keys. You say you are in the Ashanti region now, right?
Yes, I'm in Kumasi.
All right. Where are you heading next?
I'm back to Accra. I've done all the 16 regions. Ashanti, I just have pockets of constituency chairmen that I've not met. So I'm meeting them between today and tomorrow. Then I have a family engagement on weekend and I'm back to Accra and I'm done.
All right. We wish you the best as you hold the keys and go round. Kojo and Safwa Poku is a flag bearer aspirant of the New Patriotic Party. He is energy analyst or energy expert as well. He joined the conversation. Thank you, Kojo. Right before we go, this segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening as well. Locate us in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. That's Kumasi Krono here behind the Angel Educational Complex. That's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanso and Siama Enzema. Reach us on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, bringing us to the end of the news review. But just the start of sports. I nearly said Mubarak Wakaso. Well, Mubarak brings us sports up next.